Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. This is the holiday weekend for the New Year's celebration 2022. We're finally in a brand new year, so I want to wish all my viewers a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2022. Let's hope that this year is going to be better than the last two that we've had, you know, out there in the world, all the craziness that's been going on. So I'm in the shop this weekend, and mainly what I'm doing is just kind of cleaning up, doing a little bit of maintenance, and I wanted to show you a couple things that we're doing. So over here on the shaper, we just used this for the job, shaping the aluminum strut. And what I wanted to do was go ahead and get this sucker cleaned back up, which is what I've done. We've had this past week here, all in the southeast, we've had, especially in our area, we've had a lot of humidity and a lot of dense patchy fog over the past week or so. And I had the AC off here in the shop. Abby and I took a little trip for New Year's. I was gone, come back, and then I started noticing some flash rusting in here in the shop, which is normally not an issue because I keep the air conditioner running, which helps keep the humidity under control here in the shop. But since I had the AC off, the humidity kind of comes into the shop, and anything I haven't been maintaining, bare metal surfaces, you'll start getting that flash rusting on there. I'm sure all you guys watching are well aware of this. So here's one way that I combat that. So I went ahead and just give all the bare metal surfaces a scrub with some Scotch-Brite, get it clean, get the rust off of there, and then I take my CRC SP350. This is a rust inhibitor. This is an indoor rust inhibitor, and it works great. So I take this and I coat it all over the bare metal surfaces. You can see the sheen on there. And what that'll do is that'll start drying. I've got it all sprayed up here too. That'll start drying and it'll leave sort of like an oily film on the bare metal surface. Clean the table, both sides, the front of it, sprayed it down there as well. So this works really well for maintaining all of your bare metal surfaces in the shop, no matter if it's tools, even some of your precision instruments, things like that. You keep it coated down with that SP350, and it does leave an oily film on there, so anytime you want to use something, you don't want that oil, you just have to wipe that off, and then when you're done using the machine or the tool, take it, just spray it back down again, and that'll protect it. That layer of oil on there is going to protect it from the humidity coming into the shop and trying to create surface rust on it. So we got that taken care of. Now I'm going to go down to the DoAll mill. I want to get that sucker trimmed in. So I had started setting this guy up whenever I got that aluminum plate, and I thought I was going to just set it over here and mill it, and then I changed my mind and ended up using the shaper. So now is a good time to go ahead and get this milling head trimmed in. So that's what we're doing right here. I thought I'd go ahead and show you the setup and what we're going to do. So I started off, I just went ahead and re-cleaned the table using the gray Scotch-Brite, the same thing I used down on the shaper, and just buff it. And then I've got my precision ground flat stones, and I just lightly rub it. And you can kind of, if I run across there with the camera, you can kind of see that reflection. That's from the stones there polishing the surface there. And that's mainly just to make sure that you don't have any very minor dents or little dings in the surface. Maybe over the past, course of the year or whatever that I've been using the table, you set things down on it, sometimes you can create a little high spot where something touches the surface there. So you just use these precision ground flat stones to just lightly buff it. And if you feel any high spot whatsoever, you'll feel that stone touch it. So we've done that. Now we've got the Starrett number 196 back plunge indicator set up right here. So we've got it set up with our fixed joints and approximately 3 inches from the center. So we got about a 6-inch diameter sweep right here that we're doing. I don't have it trimmed in yet, but I just wanted to show you the setup there. So we're still off front to back. So we're adjusting the nod of the mill head here as well. And we will check it side to side just the same. So we'll set you up on a stand here, and we'll go ahead and get this guy trimmed in. We'll point out that these are the 3 bolts that you have to loosen in order to change the knot of this. So we've got these loose but slightly snug so that it puts a little bit of tension there on the milling head. And of course we've got our ratchet back here. We're using this worm screw right here to adjust the knot of the milling head right there. So I'm going to bring this handle back around this way. And I'm just going to reach up here like this as I'm doing the sweeping, and I'll make some adjustments by just very gently pulling on that while I'm watching the indicator. I think this is probably one of the most tried and true and foolproof methods for getting your milling head trammed in. There's a lot of techniques, there's a lot of custom tools you can use to do this, but really just any kind of quality indicator that you can trust with a setup like this will get the job done. So we're just going to sweep it. I'm only going to focus on front to back right now, and I know that the back end is low, but that's because we're still kicked down. It's still knotted down. That's why when we come to the front, this is high right there. So what I want to do is somewhere around 20 to 25 on this indicator, but we're just using that as a reference. So I'm going to go ahead and pull on this screw, and we're going to make it move about 20 thousandths right there. We're going to come back around here, and now it's not touching. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back end up. I'm using the knee, the crank handle. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to about 0. Now let's sweep it back to the front side and see what our error is. It's about 11 thousandths right there. So I'm going to reach up here and give it another pull. We're just going to take about half of it. So that's on +5. And now we're on, looks like -3. So I'm going to go ahead and give it another pull. And I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm not really too concerned about how much I'm moving it, as far as how many thousandths of an inch on the indicator. I just want to move it a little bit and then recheck it, because you're not on the center. So what you're moving here isn't actually what you have to move. I'll bring this up to 0 there. And we're -4. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it again. Let's just go about half of it. -3. So just moving it a couple of thousandths now. We'll come back around here, and we're -1, so we're getting very close to it now. And by the way, I did want to point out, I forgot to mention this earlier, I'm using a wide button on the indicator stem here. That'll help sweep across any inconsistencies in the table, any little dings, divots in the table, and it kind of averages out what you're sweeping on. Trying to give you a tighter shot so you can see as we finish this out here. Still about 1/1000. Let's see if we can get that any closer. So I'm going to reset it on the front side here to 0. And that back side is super close. The camera angle is making it look worse than it is, but it's actually only looks to be about 2 to 3 tenths maybe out. So I'm going to try to do another very slight adjustment. I'm just watching that needle. I'm going to reset the knee. I'm bringing it up to 0 using the knee. Bring it back around here to the front side. And that's looking pretty good right there. Like I said, the angle of the camera there is kind of, you're off to the side of it, so it doesn't look like it's centered up on that 0. That's looking real nice. All right, I'm going to call that the nod front to back is now trimmed in. So now we're going to turn our attention to the side to side. So I've moved the table over so that we can sweep on this part of the table right here. I'm going to reset a 0 on that just using the knee. all right, and this side is -2. All right, so we need to swing it that way just slightly to get it trammed in. I'm going to check that again, see if it moved. We're on 0. So -2 thousandths. So for this one, we will loosen up these 4 bolts right here and then turn it using this worm screw right here. Just loosen them up till they're loose and then just kind of lightly snug them back up. Just checking to see if it moved. A lot of times it'll drop whenever you loosen up the bolts. It's still about the same, so we'll go ahead and start making our adjustments. -1, -1. Looks like we've got her right there where it needs to be. So we should be trammed in nicely. I've got everything tightened up. I'm just going to sweep over it one more time just to kind of verify all my measurements are where we wanted them. Everything's looking good. Our front to back, our side to side, everything still looks good to go. All right, I'm gonna call that tram. So we've got our mill trammed in good. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and offset the table. And what I mean is that I try to do this the first of each year. So we're right at the new year, January 22. So what we're going to do is offset the table so that when I'm using this throughout the year, most of the movement is going to be on this end of the table in the x-axis. How you usually see it is I'm down here on this end, but what I try to do is alternate it on each side. So I've got these are the way covers that I always use on the mill. I bought these years ago from someone off of Practical Machinist on the forum. It's made from Buna End rubber. They got this center rib there so that it pushes down into a 5/8 slot. I don't know if this stuff is still available. As I said, it was years ago when I bought it, but this is some really good stuff. I love these covers, and just wanted to point that out since I have a lot of people who usually ask me about these guys. He's got these little channels in there so that you can kind of set tools and it keeps them from rolling off the table. But cut them and trim them is what I did. So I've got one cut short. So, you know, usually when you see it, it's down here on that end, okay? Short end, the vise is closer to this side. I'm gonna go ahead and set it up. I usually just set it where I want by putting this cover on there, and you gotta push it down in this slot, like that. All right, and the vise is going to go right here, and you can see that it'll be offset a little bit. I'll go ahead and grab this other cover and lay it here so you can see. I've got it cut so that it fits around the Kurt vise. The vise will be sitting right there. And then it's offset, so I'm kind of putting a little more wear on this side now throughout the year instead of this side down here where we use it over the past year, okay? So just one little way that I use this DoAll to try to prolong the life of the machine and the wear inside the gibs there and the V-ways. Whenever I acquired this mill from my dad back in 2012 is when I brought it down here. It was always a very minimal used machine. Even the years that I was using it with Dad, really all we ever did was like a second op. So there was always a mill vise up here, and we used it to drill holes and just do minor machining ops. Sometimes we would use it when we got to set something down and clamp it down and do some drilling or milling, removing broken bolts for parts and things like that. So it never was used a lot for a lot of movement, you know, for keyways and milling and slots. I've used it here much more than what it was used at the original shop, because we had a big Acra mill that we always used for all the big heavy stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna get the, we got the Kurt vise right there. I'm gonna get it set up on the mill now, get it trammed in, and just get this mill ready to go for the next job. I wanna do some sweeping because the floor is nasty. So that's what my day has been filled up with today. I thought this was funny. All of us machinists get a kick out of this anytime it happens. So I just set the Kurt vise up here. I lightly snugged down the nuts right here to tighten it up. Swept it across there about 6 inches, and I'm 1/1000th off. I never bumped it. I haven't bumped it yet anyway. So going center to center on the bolts there, which isn't quite 6, is I'm 1/1000th off. So I just thought that was funny, because we always kind of joke about that when we throw it up in there and we tighten it down and we sweep it, and you're within 1/1000th of being square across there. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and finish getting it trammed in now, and finish getting this mill set up ready to use. Everything's trimmed in, it's ready to go. So the last thing I'm gonna do before I put the rubber protectors down there, I'm gonna use our SP350 again. I'm gonna give everything a nice coating, including the vise. That'll help protect in between the rubber mat there and the table surface. We won't have any kind of rust collecting underneath there while the rubber mats are down. Back on the welder, trying to eliminate the porosity problems I was having with my dual shield. So just installed a brand new spool of wire. I got the ESAB X Series dual shield 710 XM. This was recommended by Dave Rubin, Farm Fab, over on Instagram. Highly respected welder and fabricator. This is what he uses in their machines, and he highly recommended it. So getting it ready. That is a beautiful spool of wire, I should say. I love the way they do their spools. So the other thing that I'm doing, and this comes highly recommended from several people, I just laid the bottle down here on the concrete, and what I'm gonna do is just roll this gently. I'm just gonna roll it around and see if that helps mix the two gases back together. I don't know if that's been the culprit or not, but I've had a lot of people say that that can be an issue whenever the bottles have sat for quite a while. And I've had this bottle for, I would say, at least 3 or 4 years. Haven't used it all. It's still probably half full. So we're gonna give that a shot. Roll it around, try to mix those gases back up if that's what's going on there, if they've separated, and see if that helps. So we'll get it mixed up again, get it back on the miller, and try it out. Try this new ESAB wire and see if that fixes my welding issues I've been having with my dual shield. Running a few test welds for the first time with the ESAB 710XM wire. So far, so good. Just run a few fillets on that old scrap metal right there. I did not see any porosity, any worm tracks, any pinholes in that. So it's working pretty good so far. Running a 360 wire speed, 26 on the bolts. And I'm liking it. So maybe the fresh wire is helping, and then also taking the gas bottle, rolling it around, trying to mix up the two gases, that seemed to have helped. So hopefully this will continue. So we haven't had a viewer gift unboxing here in quite some time, and I've got one behind me that I'm opening up, and it's a very long overdue opening. And not only that, it's a very long overdue thank you to not only my viewer Gunnar Brand, who sent the gifts behind me here in the box, but also Brockhaus Heuer. I believe that's the proper pronunciation, and I apologize if I didn't get that right. Heuer. They're the ones that collaborated with Gunnar on this this refurbished Vise that's in the box here behind me. So it's been a couple of years, but Gunnar had actually sent me another Heuer Vise, which is this guy right here. This is the Heuer front model. That's the actual model of it, is the front. He sent this to me as a gift. It is a German-made Vise, and they've been around for a long time. I think these are go back well over 80 years. Pre-war times is whenever they were making these. These are drop forged vices that are high quality, and high quality sought after vices over in Germany and that area of the world. Just like over here, people like to try to find reeds and you know, all those kinds of vices. So he sent me this a long time ago, a couple years back, as a gift. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a well-used Heuer Vise. It's still in good shape. Even the jaws on the inside right here, the serrations, they're still in there. It's in good shape. But anyway, so the other model that they make, which is supposed to be the premium model, it's called the Primus. And that's the one that Gunnar seeked out and found one, and actually took it and contacted the folks there at Brockhaus that manufacture these vices, and collaborated with them on doing a refurbish on this particular Vise. So that's what they've done. So as I said, this is a long overdue thank you to everybody involved with this, you know, Gunnar, and especially Brockhaus Heuer that did the refurbish on this. So you can check them out on Instagram as well. They have an Instagram account that they share some of their work there, and some of the work on the vices. So let's check this stuff out. So as I said, it is a very long overdue thank you, and you can see we've got the really cool happy birthday taping that Gunnar put on this. He's got it all wrapped up, and he sent this to me actually last year. So I've had this box for quite a while, and I just wasn't ready to open it up yet because I wanted to dedicate some time to this, the opening, check everything out. And he always sends me a lot of literature with these vices too. So it takes some time to go through that stuff and read and understand and learn, because I don't really know a whole lot about this brand, but he does a really good job of giving me all the information on these vices. I've got some printouts right here that he sent that's got all the info on these vices, all of the patent numbers, just all the information that people like to have on these. So we've also got 3 more vices right here that's wrapped up. I haven't seen them yet. I know 2 of them are German made. One of them is Polish made. I think it's the smallest one is the Polish made. And he was telling me in his note that even these are highly sought after vices now as well. You know how everybody's going crazy over vices these days. So I'm going to get these things wrapped up, and I want to show it to you. I'm excited to get this out of the box and get it unwrapped and check it out and see the refurbishment that they have done on this Vise. And he did, Gunnar told me that it's highly likely that this may be one of the only factory refurbished Primus Vices this side of the pond, meaning over here in the US. So I don't know if anybody else has sent one to them to have refurbished, but Gunnar did that, and then he sent it over the pond here to the US for me. So I'm gonna work on getting all this stuff unpackaged, and I'll bring you back to show you what we have here. Gunnar always goes above and beyond to get these things packaged up safely to make it all the way across here to the US. So he always bolts it down to a board, and then he stuffs plenty of styrofoam in the box there to help protect it in transit. So it made it here perfectly safe. Let's see if we can go ahead and get our first looks at the Primus, factory reconditioned Primus Vise. That's already looking good right there. Yeah, this is looking great. All right, I might have to get, there we go. There it is. Beautiful. That is a pretty vise. One of the features I forgot to mention about the Primus, it's got a 7-inch wide jaw. I believe this was their biggest vise that they offered right here. All drop forged, high quality build. So this is a brand new handle that they installed on this. Gunnar was saying that the original handle was bent up. So obviously Brockhaus, they cut the old one off and installed a brand new handle on this. I'm not sure what this is. It may just need to be cleaned up. They may have put some kind of protective coating on there for the ride over. And I believe this bolt right here was replaced because the original was missing. All right, that is beautiful. One of the ways that makes this unique too, that this is considered a parallel vise, by the way. Learned that from the literature that he sent. The rear jaw moves, so your front jaw is actually your stationary jaw, and then your moving jaw is the rear that moves back there. All right, so let me finish getting it unbolted there, and then we'll open it up and see how it looks. All right, guys, there it is. We've got it all out of the crate, unbolted. I wanted to show it to you like this before I stand it up and put a clamp on it, because you can see the way that they machined the bottom of this right here. You've got a little bit of a flange, so you set it on your workpiece there, and obviously you have your hole pattern drilled so that it's bolted down rigid to your table. So whenever I stood it up the first time, it was kind of rocking right on this part of the forging right here. All right, so wanted to show you that, how the bottom of it looks. So notice the parallel rail right here, the way it's built. This, I believe this right here, this is a bolt that actually stops it from opening up too far. I believe that's what this slot is right here. So that just keeps it from opening all the way up. So if you need to take the dynamic jaw off, obviously you're going to remove this bolt and don't screw it all the way. Okay, so this guy right here is the spindle nuts, and the way they have this made is that it floats inside this hole right here. So you can see how it moves right there. So by having this nut in there floating like that, it only puts tensile stress on this and on the screw right there, since it can kind of self-center in there on your screw. It does say that the screw is made from square thread, the spindle screw, square threads in there. All right, they've got this cap made on there to help protect any dust and dirt getting up inside the screw and the nut there. And I had previously mentioned before that Heuer actually replaced this handle, so this is a factory new handle on there. I think this is just a little bit of oxidation on the handle itself. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna clean that up later. But according to Gunnar's note, I believe that they took the spindle out and they remachined the end of the spindle here, the shoulder, and then the shoulder up inside here. And there is new ball bearings up inside there and another washer, because he says that was all chewed up. And actually when he found this, the ball bearings were missing, and he found some ball bearings and put them in there. And now that is operating nice and smoothly. All right, there we go. We got it clamped in. I just put a couple C-clamps on here to hold it in place for now. There we go. There it is all the way open. So as I had mentioned before, the Primus is a 7-inch wide jaw. All right, and then you've got a 7-inch wide opening there as well. It actually opens up, looks like 7 1/4 is your max opening. So I noticed that they did go ahead and powder coat. This is a powder coat finish from the factory now. They did go ahead and powder coat the inside. I can see the serrations in there, the original jaws there, but that's no problem. We're just going to use it, and it's just going to start wearing on there, you know. It'll start eating some of that coating away as we use it. The movement or the sound that you actually hear is just the dynamic jaw sliding on the rail right here, the I-beam. You can see the spindle nut floating in there. That's nice. That is a super nice vise. Just see the square threads once you open it all up all the way. So that's a really nice feature, having this dust cap there to keep the dust and the dirt and metal chips and filings and stuff out of the screw. So very cool, very beautiful job. Brockhaus really did a great job on the refurbishment of this, and so did Gunnar. Also, he put some work into it as well. He said that he cleaned it up some, like especially on the anvil. He dressed that some, and you can kind of see where the powder coating didn't quite go down into some of the areas of the casting, or not the casting, but the forging there. Didn't get it completely, but it looks beautiful just the way it is right there. So that is a really great refurbishment of this really nice vise right there. So I really can't say enough of the job that everybody did on this, both Gunnar and Brockhaus, on the refurbishment. So thank you very much for that. We'll start with this. This is a little Polish-made vise right here, clamp on, and it's a swivel design. So you can reach back here, and they've got this so that it moves, so you can easily just go ahead and flip this to loosen the clamp and spin it where you want, and then just tighten it back up. It is a little bit finicky, but it actually works really well. That is nice. Very cool. It's virtually an unused condition. Doesn't look like it's been used very much at all. All right, so this is, I don't know if it's pronounced linen or linen, but this is how this guy works right here. It's got your rear moving dynamic jaw. He said to disregard the watchmaker's paint job put on this, so I don't know if this is original or if somebody, painted it over time. That is a very nice little clamp-on vise right there. So this guy right here, this is the one that he says is really hard to find and very highly sought after, and it looks very similar to an American style, or I don't know if that's an American style, but a leg vise. A lot of you guys know what a leg vise is, often called post vices, that have the leg that's attached that goes all the way down to the ground, often bolted to a log or a fence or something like that. A lot of blacksmiths use them, so it's considered like a deep throat vise. But look how this one operates right here. Very cool. Pivots on the bottom, and the way that they've got this slot made in this front bracket is that's your stop. Whenever you bring it to the back, the screw hits the bottom of the slot, and that keeps it from opening all the way up right there. So if you need to take that all the way out, just take this screw out here. So it's still in great condition. It's been well used. You can tell that it's been well used. People's been using it for welding. And I will point out that Gunnar said that he remade the clamping handle right here, this guy. So he did a great job making that piece right there. So very nice. Size B. This one is called a Weesko. W-E-E-S-K-O is the brand of this one. A new one to me. I've never seen one before, but it is casted into it right there. So very cool. All nice vices. This is the note that he sent me with all the information in there about all the vices, and including the Heuer vise right here. Really nice. This has certainly been a really fun and great unboxing. And again, I apologize to Gunnar for waiting so long to get to this, to share it with my viewers and share the work that not only he, but Brockhaus put into the refurbishment of this really cool, high quality Primus bench vise here. Not only did he acquire it, he purchased it, he found it, he purchased it, did some work to it, sent it over to Brockhaus. They did their refurbishments on it, and then he packaged it up really well, sent it over here to me in the US to give to me as a gift, and I just can't thank him enough. In addition to these really nice small clamp-on vices. All these vices right here, you really don't find these very often over here in the US. I don't anyway. I don't know how common these are over here. So these are a nice treasure to have here in the shop. So big thanks to Gunnar for everything he's done. Big thanks to Brockhaus for all the work that they put into it on their end. And please check them out over on Instagram. It's really cool to see a company like them that's been in business for so long continue to make tools, and not only make tools, but to service and repair and restore some of their old tools that they made so long ago. As he was saying, that's a pre-war Vise right there. So you're looking at a Vise that's 80 years old. Really high quality, all forged, drop forged, hardened jaws. So this thing is going to be around for a very long time, well after I'm long gone. So I don't know where I'm going to use it yet. I really like the way it looks right here in the shop, but I promise I'm going to make a really nice spot either here in this shop or maybe in the new shop, have it down there so we have a nice Vise down there as well. So I'll be sure to, you'll see that whenever that happens. So big thanks again to Gunnar. I really appreciate it.